that we're putting in place, that we've actually put in place since before day one, to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself when it needs it. And I'm also pleased to announce that as we speak, the transfer of F-16 jets is underway, coming from Denmark, coming from the Netherlands, and those jets will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer to make sure that Ukraine can continue to effectively defend itself against the Russian aggression.
Dear friends, welcome to another episode of Geopolitical and Military News. In this video, we will talk about the beginning of the deliveries of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. But why is this aircraft so important for Ukrainian defense? This Wednesday, July 10th, Antony Blinken, the United States Secretary of State, said during the NATO meeting in Washington that the F-16 jets promised to Ukraine over a year ago are being delivered right now. Secretary Blinken informed that the aircraft are now entering Ukraine from Denmark and the Netherlands. But exactly how many F-16s will be delivered to Ukraine? Why did it take so long for them to start arriving? And why are these planes seen as so important for the country's defense against the Russian invasion? The exact number is not entirely known. However, based on the official information already released, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Norway have announced a total of about 80 F-16s for Ukraine, with several other countries, such as Romania, the United Kingdom, and the United States, participating by training Ukrainian pilots and mechanics. The delivery of F-16s to Ukraine was announced by Denmark and the Netherlands over a year ago, but only now, in July 2024, have the jets finally started to arrive. The reason for this is quite simple to understand. It is not easy to train pilots and mechanics for the full operation of new combat aircraft. It is also neither easy nor cheap to create an entirely new logistics chain of parts and tools for the operation and maintenance of these aircraft. In addition, there is the construction of local infrastructure for the safe and effective operation of such demanding equipment. A Ukrainian fighter pilot, even with a lot of experience, is not used to flying Western aircraft, with their experience limited to Soviet-designed fighters, such as the MiG-29. The transition of a MiG-29 pilot to the F-16 is not an easy process, as they are aircraft with entirely different behaviors. It is one thing to start a fighter jet, take off, make a few turns, and land, but it is another thing entirely to master the machine to the point of extracting all its combat potential, which necessarily involves long hours of flight and simulated combat practice, extremely expensive and complex processes, especially when the time available for this is so short. This was the main reason behind the delay in the beginning of the F-16 deliveries to Ukraine. This brings us to the final question: why is this aircraft seen as so important for the country's defense against the Russian invasion? When a country launches a large military operation against another, one of the first priorities is to neutralize the adversary's air force. With the adversary's air force neutralized, the aggressor achieves two important gains. It becomes capable of bombing the enemy with much more freedom, and its ground forces can advance without fearing major air attacks. And this is exactly what Russia tried to do at the beginning of its invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, by launching a massive barrage of ballistic and cruise missiles against the main Ukrainian air bases. There are no official numbers, but various sources report that about 1/4 of the entire Ukrainian Air Force was neutralized in the first days of the war, with much of what remained being forced to hide in distant shelters for long weeks, giving Russia a significant air advantage that greatly facilitated its rapid advance through the interior of Ukraine. However, despite all the Russian effort, the Ukrainian Air Force was not entirely destroyed and, despite being greatly weakened, continued to operate with its fighters, dedicating itself almost exclusively to the mission of launching precision and long-range missiles against Russian positions in the rear. To carry out other missions, such as intercepting the dozens of missiles and drones that Russia daily launches against Ukraine and keeping away the planes and bombers that Russia uses for these launches, the Ukrainian Air Force will need many more resources than it currently has at its disposal. And this is exactly where the 80 F-16s promised by the Allies come in, and which have started arriving in Ukraine this July. With these planes, Ukraine will be able to hinder Russian aerial attacks with missiles and, depending on the number of aircraft, may create small no-fly zones for localized defense or ground attack operations. Additionally, they can be used to launch even more long-range missiles, such as the Storm Shadow. The F-16 is not and never will be Ukraine's ultimate weapon, because such a thing does not exist, but there is no doubt that, if used correctly and intelligently and if available in large quantities, it will greatly help in Ukraine's defensive efforts against the terrible Russian invasion. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time,